So, understanding the tax reform, 2025 tax reform, and the impact in our businesses as individual and even as a church, if at all there is any investment or any business that the church has ventured into. So those are the things we want to look at. But before I continue, yàtọ̀ sí àwa tí à ń gba owó oṣù, mélòó ni a máa ń lè ta máa ń san owó orí? Okay, we don't have anybody. So definitely, okay, Mommy, thank you very much. Let's jam our hands together for more. And ó túmọ̀ sí pé àti ìṣètò, because as a citizen of Nigeria, tí o ṣe business, if you are doing business, so far you are doing a business or you have income coming from any source, there is need for you to pay the tax. Ṣùgbọ́n ní àkókò táwa yìí kò sí ní anybody fẹ́ sá lọ mọ́, tó bá lò san bó ṣe máa gbà ó ti wà lẹ̀. So far that you have what we call NIN, and I believe that about 95% of our táwa níbí yìí a ní NIN tí ìjọba ní kí a ṣe, because without it we cannot do so many things. Next slide. So the first thing on the slide is why did Nigeria reform its tax system? Ìdí tí ìjọba ṣe ní láti tún ètò òfin tó ṣe nípa sísan owó orí. Number one reason, the tax before is scattered and confusing, which is, take for instance, tí bá wà ní ìlú Èkó lèyí, tí mo lọ sí Port Harcourt lọ́la, bí Port Harcourt ṣe gbé tí wọ́n kalẹ̀ ó yàtọ̀ sí títí Èkó, and Èkó wọ́n máa fún mi ní tax ID means pé a unique number tí o máa fi san owó rẹ̀. Tó bá lọ sí ọ̀dọ̀ àwọn tax authority, they don't want to name your name. What they need is your tax ID. So before now, what we do is, if I leave Lagos and move to Port Harcourt, I will have to go and register again in Port Harcourt, have another tax ID. Tí bá kúrò ní Port Harcourt lọ́la tí mo lọ sí Ìbàdàn, màá tún ní èmi. Ṣùgbọ́n nísìn kò rí bẹ́ẹ̀ mọ́. Everybody, no matter where you find yourself in Nigeria, you will be having just the tax ID, and the rule is the same thing. So ara ìdí tí a ṣe ní ìwé tá a ṣe ní láti reform tax system wa. Number 2 is inefficient. Number 3, not clear. The rule is not clear, and the mode of collection is not clear enough. Tí o bá ṣe pé àwọn tó ní ìmọ̀ bí a ṣe lè remit sanwó fún ìjọba, majority of Nigeria mọ̀ bí a ṣe lè remit àwọn owó yìí, and those are the challenges that we are facing in our country. And one of the features when it comes to tax is that the way you pay it, ó gbọ́dọ̀ nira, ó gbọ́dọ̀ wà flexible. So that's one of the things. Then even ìjọba wọ́n rí owó tó tówó, there is loss of revenue. Just like the question I asked when I was about to start the lecture is that mélòó ni a sanwó orí? And tí a bá ṣí 2024 or 2025, iye èrè tí majority wa rí kò sẹ́ni tó san owó orí lórí ẹ̀, and that is one of the way governments are losing revenue. I know láìmọye bàtà bá sọ̀rọ̀ lórí ẹ̀ oríṣiríṣi a máa ní kí ló fi ń ṣe, but that's not the reason why we are gathered here. Another thing is no compliance and hard for business to understand. So our today's goal, ìdí tí a ṣe gbé eléyìí kalẹ̀ òun ni pé ká mọ̀ bá ṣe di understand the arrangement and help individual and small business to be able to stay compliant. Ìdí ni pé a fẹ́ kí a wà aware ká mọ̀ nípa bí ètò owó orí ìṣe ń lọ kó má yẹ pé nǹkan kan máa ṣẹlẹ̀ lọ́la bí wọ́n sọ ní ibì kan nǹkan mìíràn sọ nǹkan mìíràn ìdẹ̀nu bíjọba ṣe gbé kalẹ̀. Next slide. So the new 2025 tax book comprises of 4 things. Àwọn eléyìí just for introduction in case we may want to have insight in it. So bí gbogbo ìwé owó orí bá ṣe kọ the tax rule bó ṣe wà tẹ́lẹ̀ ó kọ̀ scatter ó pọ̀ lóríṣiríṣi because if you go to different states there are different tax law there are this there are that ṣùgbọ́n nísìnyí báyìí ó ti kó gbogbo ẹ̀ sójú kan tó ti di mẹ́rin. So the first one is Nigerian tax act tó ní ṣe nípa àwọn owó orí tí a máa san a máa wo gbogbo ẹ̀ ní àárọ̀ yìí. Ìkejì ní Nigerian Revenue Service. Before now a ní what we call Federal Inland Revenue Service. So iṣẹ́ táwọn ṣe ni pé àwọn ló ń gba owó orí fún ìjọba. But in years back I remember Lagos and Rivers State ó ti gbé ìjọba lọ sí ilé ẹjọ́ wípé Federal Inland Revenue àwọn kọ́lọ́ ẹ̀kọ́ máa gba ìkan nínú owó orí dé àǹsàn which is VAT. So along the line federal government won they continue to collect it. Ṣùgbọ́n nísìn kò sí èèyàn mọ́ òfin ti wà and bí ọ̀ṣẹ̀ máa gbà. So now we no longer have Federal Inland Revenue, we now have Nigerian Revenue Service. And tó bá dé ti gbà ọmọ àmọ́bọ̀ yẹn máa pín and how every other time we go. The third one is Nigerian Tax Administration. So eléyìí ṣe nípa àwọn processes àwọn ìlànà tá a máa fi san àwọn ìlànà tí a máa fi gbà àwọn nǹkan tí a máa ní láti ṣe tó bá ti fẹ́ gbà and so on. Àwọn nǹkan tí ẹ̀ ní ṣe ní. Then the last one is Joint Tax Board and Joint State Revenue Committee Act. So ìyẹn ní ṣe gbogbo states coming together and deciding on tax administration and take some other things. So the goal of these 4 things is just to simplify, clarify, and unify the tax system. And that's why we are here. So, a ní oríṣiríṣi owó orí tí a ń san. Ṣùgbọ́n ní àárọ̀ yìí, èyí tó ní ṣe pẹ̀lú wa, and by God's grace, I will try as much as possible not to be too technical. I will break it down bí ó ṣe kàn wá sí. So a ní oríṣiríṣi owó orí sísan. We have what we call VAT, CIT, PIT, petroleum tax, stamp duty and so on. But èyí tó kàn wá jù láàárọ̀ yìí òun ni personal income tax tó ní ṣe pẹ̀lú owó orí individual, that's èèyàn kọ̀ọ̀kan àwọn owó orí tó yẹ kí o san. So the key changes tá a máa wò ní ibi owó orí because the percentage àwọn iye tí a máa san ó ti yàtọ̀ and the way we pay it for salary earners we will know that this January to lọ yìí there is difference in our pay. Is either you receive higher or you receive lower. So the one of the reason for doing this for personal income tax is also to lower tax burden. Last year nígbà tí ariwo owó orí ọmọ máa yọ owó ọmọ máa ṣe lé ìgbà tó pọ̀ ìdí owó orí yìí is to lessen tax burden on Nigerians who are lower or middle income earners. So when we look at it, taba sọ̀rọ̀ àwọn high income earners, those are the set of people that are earning above 30 million in a year. But owó orí ẹ̀ tó bá wà owó tó ń gbà àbí your whole income is between 0 to let's say 20 million. owó orí tó máa san kò ní pọ̀. So they have used this tax reform to reduce the burden of tax, then to make it clearer for easy payroll calculation, fairer deduction, and better compliance. So quickly, you can see next slide. A fẹ́ wo bí the rates bó ṣe wà tẹ́lẹ̀ àti bó ṣe wà nísìn. Tábà ní lórí screen wa, we will see the old law and the new law. We will see the one in red and the one in green. The one okay. And when we look at it, the way we do this thing before, majority of us that are salary earner, we may not understand. We just know that at the end of the month, whatever you bargain for, if your salary is 500,000, you just collect your 500,000 and you go. But there are calculations to these things. Ó ti láwọn owó kan ti yọ, ó ti láwọn nǹkan mìíràn ti take into consideration. So before now, the old rule states that your first 300,000, take for instance, if your annual income is 5 million naira. So the old rule states that your first 300,000 from that 5 million will be taxed at 7%. Then Omaku 4.7, they will take another 300,000, tax it at 11%, another 500,000, 15%, another 500, 19%. So Mavide last, which is 3.2 above, which is 24%. But now, one of the things ìjọba ti ṣe, which is to lessen the tax burden on individual, that will reduce our owó orí tí a máa san as low income earner, is to bring down the tax rates. And Tabawo, you move to the new law. The first 800,000 now will be taxed at 0%. That means nínú 5 million tó end, your first 800,000 is 0%. And take for instance my January salary. One of the things I experienced, at least I have additional about 10,000 naira added to my salary, just because the implementation of this new tax law what it affected there pay payment tí wọ́n overcharge me, or because the way the tax law is, I pay more of tax, but now I pay less of tax. So we have it first 800,000, and first 800,000 here, they look at it as the minimum wage in Nigeria is 70,000. That means if you are earning anything from 0 to 70,000 per month, you will not be paying tax. But as at December, before the old tax, tí wọ́n abolish ẹ̀ tí wọ́n gbàgbé, even if you are earning 70,000, you still pay tax on that 70,000. Because by the time they do the whole calculation for the whole year, you'll be in the bracket of like 300,000 or 500,000 and so on. So this is how it is. And the table below will show iye tí, just for example, if your annual income is 240,000, before that 240,000 they will tax it as 7%, but now it's 0%. So all this thing is just to enlighten every one of us, because there are a whole lot of different, let me say, rumor, or people that don't have the understanding of this tax, carrying it on social media. You'll be this, you'll be that. So if we look at it, the next one is 360,000. If you earn 360,000 per year, you are still not paying tax now. But before, you will pay at 11%. 800,000, you will pay at 15% before, but now it's 0%. And when we look at it, down to the last one, which is number 8, that is when you are paying more. Because what the government wants to do is, the high income earner, they want to get more from them, then to redistribute to the whole citizen. So the lesser income earner, they want to relieve them. You will not be paying much tax or not pay at all. Then the high income earner, at least for you to be earning 60 million in a year, that means you have the money. So that is the picture of the personal income tax. So this personal income tax only ṣe pẹ̀lú owó tí or èrè àbí income tí individual wá ní for the whole year. So both salary earner, you are doing business, you have side hustling you are doing, you have to pay all this tax and you pay it to Lagos State. So any state you find yourself, that is where you pay the tax to. So that is that. When we will get to the slide where we will see how we can get our tax ID and so on. So the next slide is the still on personal income tax. Before now, there are some relief that we have. We call it consolidated relief allowance. But now they have removed it. And where we have moved to is your rent relief. That's one of the relief that you have. Because for the whole year, if your tax is, if your income is 5 million naira, before, from that 5 million naira, you have a relief of 200,000. Or I'll call you 200,000. That means you will only be taxed on 4.8. Then after that, they will now take your 1% of gross, then also remove it. So that one is so complicated. So most time, only professional understand all of this. But now, what they do is they remove all of this. So what we will only be doing is that from that 5 million, they will look at it, how much is the rent you are paying for a year. So if your rent is, let's say you are paying rent of 500,000 naira, so that means you are only entitled to 20% of that 500,000, which will be as a relief. So what I mean is that your annual income is 5 million naira. Your rent is 500,000 naira. 20% of 500. Mathematics. So the 20% is, so 20%, let's say the 20% is 10,000 naira. So what you will be having now is that they will take the 10,000 naira out of that 5 million naira. That means, although you look at it that you have more income for you to pay tax on, but by the time they put the tax rate on it, if you look at it, you'll see that you are paying less. Another thing that is deductible from your income is pension. If you have a pension contribution, which is one of the things that we don't practice in Nigeria, only the set of people that are employed, which is the compulsory contribution that they make. So you are entitled to remove whatever you are contributing to your pension pot. Another thing is national insurance scheme, national housing contribution, interest on loan for owner occupied. Now, from here, if you live in your house, you don't have relief to claim. So if you rent an apartment and you pay rent, you have a relief of 20% of whatever you are paying as rent. But if you live in your house, you have no relief to claim. That means they know that where Osijemkanu Owone Oshirideko, so there will not be relief for you. And some of us in our various companies, HR has been requesting for our rent receipts, payment evidence, rent agreements, and so on. So, but if you don't have anything to provide, that means you are paying more of tax. But one thing, a provision they make for us is that tó bá yá loan tó fi kọ́lé, the interest you are paying on that loan, you are entitled to deduct it from your annual income. Then the balance is what you will pay tax on. So if at the end of the year you took a loan from Access Bank, from that loan you are paying repayment, you are paying interest. So for the whole year, if the interest you pay is 2 million naira, what tax authority will do is they will remove that 2 million naira from your annual income of 5 million naira. Then you only be paying tax on 3 million. So this section of the law is only for house owner that took loan from bank to build their house. Not that you took loan to send yourself on vacation or send your daughter to school or whatever. If the loan is used for the construction of that house. So next slide is the sample of payee templates. For those that have our phone, we can also scan the barcode. The barcode will take us to a place where you can estimate the tax you will be paying, or you just type the URL number in that on your phone, then it will take you there. So if you go there, if you put your annual income, it will calculate the amount, estimated amount you will be paying annually as tax. Now, when we look at the schedule on the table, we try to compare based on the old rule and the new rule. And you will see that from the beginning to up to where we have red, from the difference and impact, you will see that you are paying less of tax. So there's need for us to understand all these things. I need that to understand our income. So when you look at it, now you'll be paying less tax because the tax burden has reduced on most especially the low income earner. So on our free time we can look at it and we'll get the slide. So there is a rumor why I think last year that bank will deduct money from your account. If any money come into your account, they will deduct tax on it. If you send money, they will deduct tax. That's a big lie. Nobody will remove money from your account, and there is nobody in this country that have access to your account to just go and remove money. However, there is a section of the law that we call power of substitution. Lagos State released a memo on it, I think last 2 weeks. So the power of substitution is saying and telling us is that if at the end of the year, the tax authority, they write to you that Mr. XYZ will notice your income for the whole year, and if you don't know, your information is outside there. And one thing they only need your phone number. If they can get your phone number, they will get every damn information about you. And that's why I said from the beginning that we have no place to run to this time around. If tax authority want to investigate or audit individual, what they just need is your phone number. From your phone number, your NIN is linked to your phone number. Your NIN is linked to all your bank accounts. All your bank accounts. So what they will just do is to carry out their analysis. If they gather every information they have and they notice for the whole year, the inflow we notice is that you receive about 10 million naira for the whole year. They will write to you and tell you, Mr. XYZ, we notice you have income of 10 million naira. Can you explain and provide information on how this 10 million is all about? That's the only thing they need. So where I'm going to is the power of substitution. I've already established that nobody can remove money from your account. Let us note that. Nobody can remove money from your account. However, the section of the law talking about power of substitution is that the tax authority can write to your bank that Reverend is owing 20 million naira as tax. Please help us to deduct and pay to the government directly from his account. But before they will do that, they will have exhausted every means to communicate with you. The first thing they will do is to write to you, you are owing tax of 10 million naira. Come and clarify yourself, or you pay the tax. Then you just walk up to them, go with your information. If there's anything they think is an income, maybe a gift from family, a loan from a friend, and they have taken as income, then you clarify, okay, so this amount is not an income, is a money belonging to this with evidence. So, but if they write to you, you refuse to reply, they will write to you several times, at least more than 5 times. They will write to you. From practice, what they do, they will keep on writing to you, and whenever they are writing to you, they will make sure that they have an acknowledgement copy that you actually receive that letter. What they will do is to come and deliver the letter to your doorstep, and they will make sure that someone or you receive that copy of that. So you cannot deny that that letter I don't know. So after doing all of those things, they have tried everything they need to try. You are not complying. You are not coming back or to pay the tax. Then they cannot write to maybe your bank. They can write to your employer that from the salary of this so person, this person is owing government 10 million. Help us to be deducting 500,000 every month, and they need to comply. So it can be your bank, your employer, or anywhere you have, or your customer. If they notice a customer is owing you, they can meet the customer that, okay, this person is owing yours, and the person will need to comply if the order is coming from the tax authority. So first thing, they can't deduct money without consent. That means you are aware that you are owing this money. You are the one that did not comply to whatever you are owing. So that's what power of substitution is talking about. And what many of us we don't know, this power of substitution is in our law even before the reform. But because in Nigeria we have never practiced it, I have not seen any record from any state or federal government that implements this power of substitution. So, but right now, they are trying to enforce this. If they are owing, because if you don't know, companies are owing tax. Individuals are owing serious tax. I know of a company that is owing about 4 billion naira. That one is even small. Dangote, the tax that Dangote paid is 100 billion. So all these things, they are just trying to put measure in place to make sure that we pay tax. The next slide, we want to look at how we file our tax. Filing of tax is one of the most difficult things in Nigeria before now. And another question I want to ask, for salary earner, how many of us do annual filing? There's what we call annual filing. Apart from the one your company will file, there's what we call annual filing. So majority of us, we don't do that. And as individual, apart from the employer that need to file, that one is for companies. So at the end of the year, that's the end of before 31st of January of the following year. So each company needs to do annual filing, and what they want to do is that, okay, during the year, this is the money we deducted from us as pay as you earn, and we have released this to the government and tell the government we have done that. Then after that, individual, there's need for you to also do an annual filing. and the deadline is on or before 31st of March. So before, majority don't do that, but there's no much, there's implication, because by the time you make tax clearance, TCC, that's when you now start running enter cascata to make sure you have your annual filing done. But now is an offense, because as individual, there's need, so far your company is paying the tax, but at the end of the year, there's need for you to also do your annual filing. And what do we do in our annual filing? Apart from the money they have deducted from the salary, if you receive rent, maybe you are house owner, you have tenants, you receive rent. But before now, majority of house owner, we don't pay tax even on the rent we receive. We just collect the money, we chop, and we move on. But now, we cannot hide again. In my house, if my tenant is not paying tax before, now they will need for him to be paying tax. Because by the time I drop my landlord information, the government, I'm claiming a tax relief of so amount, I submit receipt, submit the information of my landlord. The government will go and meet your landlord, that will receive an information from one of the tenants that you receive a rent of so amount. So if you receive rent, there is need for you to also declare at the end of the year that apart from the salary and earning, I also have rent. Maybe your annual total amount you receive for the whole year is 5 million naira. You declare to the government, I receive a rent of 5 million naira. You pay tax on it. If you have a business you are doing, maybe you are doing a car dealer, you buy car, you sell car. So from the profits you have from the car dealing you are doing, you have to declare the profit also. So those are the things we do in our annual filing. But now, from January 2026, there is need for you to be doing your annual filing as individual, apart from the one that your company has done. So let us take note of that. Next slide, I'm moving to the company aspects. So before now, the old company income tax is in 3 categories. We have the small company, medium company, and large company. So apart from the old company income tax we pay, there are other taxes that we also pay. Apart from this 0, 20%, and 30%, we have tax fund, education tax, police trust fund, ASIMA, and so on like that. So what government has done this time around to help small companies is that they just abolish that era of many taxes that a company will pay. Then we only have small company, large company, and development fee. So no need of paying police trust fund, ASIMA, or minimum tax, and so on like that. So what you pay is if you are a small company, that's if your income is below 100 million, you are a small company. If your income is large company, is more than 100 million, then you are a big company, you will pay 30%. Now, to many of us that we have a registered company, over time, majority don't pay tax. Either a small company or a large company that is registered with CAC. Majority don't pay tax. But this time around, there's need to be compliance. There's need to be compliance. So that's on company. So quickly, another thing is the digital and crypto taxes. So for the guys that do crypto, the influencer, the TikToker, the YouTuber, remote worker, online product creation. So this time around, everybody is coming into the tax net. So if you think you can hide, one of the things they have done is all this trading platform, your NIN is attached to it. So there's no way you want to escape all of these things. So any gain, any income from all this, you have to pay tax on it. So what we have here is an example of, next slide, an example of how you pay the tax. We can see that after later. So what government has also done, we have about 50 exemption and relief that we can claim. But because many of us, we don't have the understanding of these things, we just declare the whole income and we go. But there are some exemptions, little exemption that will reduce all the taxes you pay. You can go through that later on. So quickly, before I round up, one of the things I want to enlighten on is the social media panic and the reality. Next slide. Next slide. So social media panic versus the reality under the new tax law. So many of us, what we are doing is blind men and an elephant. And what people are saying is what we think is the reality. There are a whole lot of rumors. Some people put on their status, put this narration when you are transacting, do this, say it's loan, it's grant, it's this. Tax authority, they are not done. You cannot expect that all the income into your account for the whole year is a loan or is a gift. So one of the things we want to look at is the government will, some people say the government will automatically deduct or debit your account. Next slide. So from the new tax law, there's nothing like that, just as I've established. Nobody will deduct anything from your account. But one thing I need to take note of, that we need to take note of, is that if your income, all the inflow into your account is up to 5 million in a year, the bank have the authority to send a report to the tax authority that during the first quarter of the year, the inflow this person had, all the inflow is 5 million, 60 million. And what the tax authority will do, they will use this information to estimate a tax liability for you. So if you say your income monthly is 500,000, and they notice the income into your account is up to 50 million, or now you get 50 million, in which your income you claim is 5 million naira. Other things is every bank transfer or deposit to be taxed is a lie. Nobody will tax anything apart from the stamp duty that they will charge. If you notice, if you transfer and you see the money, 15 naira will be charged. Then panic related to payee. Next slide quickly. The narration fear. The narration will not do anything, will not reduce the tax. Let us take note of that. What narration will only help us to do is to guide us on the kind of transaction you are doing. Because tax authority can come in the next 5 years that they want to audit your account for 2025. So if there is narration, because you cannot remember the transaction, all the transactions you do in 2025, and they are coming maybe 2030. So if there is accurate narration or description, that's what will help you. Okay, if tax authority is saying this 5 million is an income to you, and meanwhile the person sending it has already stated that maybe it's for family contribution. So you quickly tell them this is what the money is meant for, and so on. So other things we need to know is there, and how to generate tax ID. Just permit me for a few seconds. This one is also important. So before I said there is issue of multiple tax ID that everybody are having, but now there's changes. What government has done is to have an harmonized tax ID in which The tax ID you are using in Lagos will be the tax ID you are using in Kaduna, in Borno, and anywhere you find yourself. So the link to do this is to just go to taxid.nrs.gov.ng. When you go there, they'll ask you to input your NIN number. When you input your NIN number, then retrieve tax ID. The moment you click retrieve tax ID, this information will pop up. Next slide. They'll ask for your name and your date of birth to confirm with the information on the NIN. Then from there, next slide, you add the tax ID. If you look at follow my arrow back. So you add the tax ID, and this is the tax ID you will be using. So everybody should be able to do this, and if you can't, we can assist you on doing this if you are not tech savvy, because it is mandatory that individual should have the tax ID, and your tax ID has been harmonized that you can use it anywhere you find yourself. Same thing to business enterprise, companies, incorporated trustee. There's need for you to have the tax ID. You can also, there is a guideline on the slide on how to get that. So what you should do as individual is, number one, I call it connecting the dots. All of these things it may be ambiguous for every one of us. So what you need to do is, number one, seek understanding. If there is any gray area that you need someone to enlighten you, please do. Number two is take action. Danger of misinformation is another dot there is need for us to connect. And finally is to find the opportunities in it. And what are the opportunities? Look at all these tax relief that you can take. Just make sure you put them into practice. May God help us in Jesus' name.
Amen. Ẹ jẹ́ ká tó ń pàtẹ́wọ́ fún ọ. Kàṣí lọ́dá ẹ má ti ìlọ́dẹ. Àwọn tó gbà ní ìbéèrè. Okay, Mọ̀mí Adépìtẹ́ number 1, Mr. Tobi number 2, okay, Láti Bọ́láríwá number 3, Engineer number 4.